Have you ever had that experience? I'm going to speak a new language, really speak it, but when the moment arrives, you just kind of freeze.
Oh, absolutely. It's
Yeah.
that really frustrating feeling, right? You know the words are in there somewhere.
Yeah. The grammar, you studied it, but they just won't.
Hmm.
It won't come out.
Happens all the time. And it really points to something quite surprising, I think, that actual fluency often starts somewhere most learners just completely ignore.
Exactly. Which is why today we're doing a deep dive into this really interesting guide. It's called Fluent Speaking Starts in Your Mind, a mindset guide for English learners.
Mm.
And our goal here is really to unpack this idea that fluency isn't just about, grammar drills or vocab lists.
Right. It's so much more about what's going on inside your head, your inner world.
And what's so striking, I found, is how this guide really pinpoints the core issue. That nervousness, that self-doubt, even
Yeah.
fear.
Yeah.
They're not just uncomfortable feelings. They can actually physically block the word.
Really stop them before you even speak.
Does that sound familiar to you listening? Because I think for so many people learning a language, this is the real wall, the invisible one.
It really is. They've done the homework, they know the stuff, but something internal just slams the brakes on.
Okay, so let's dig into that. This unseen barrier. Why your mindset, um, why it often matters more than all the technical stuff, the mechanics.
Well, the common idea, the one most people have, is that fluency means talking super fast, right?
Or having this huge vocabulary you can just pull out.
Yeah.
Impressive words.
Exactly. That's the misconception we often start with.
But the reality, as this guide points out, is that your mind is just. It's
Mm.
incredibly powerful in this situation.
It really is. Those feelings we mentioned, the nerves, the doubting yourself, the simple fear of messing up,
Huh.
often those are the real roadblocks. They stop you before you even try to form the sentence.
And it's not just theoretical, is it? The guide shares some stories that are just so relatable.
Totally. One of the hosts mentioned in the source material, they talked about totally freezing up the first time they really tried speaking a new language.
Right.
And it wasn't because they didn't know the words, it was just fear.
Yeah.
Pure fear.
I mean, who hasn't felt that? And the other host in the source had a similar thing with Spanish, didn't they? Constantly worrying about every little mistake.
Yeah, that fear became this huge mental block. And it wasn't until they really worked on changing that internal mindset, that inner dialogue,
Mm.
that speaking started to feel natural and, confident.
Exactly. It just highlights how much of this journey is internal. It's personal.
Okay, so if our inner state is that important, how do we actually start changing it, reshaping that inner conversation?
Well, a really key idea from the guide is this. Fluency starts when you genuinely believe you can speak.
It sounds almost too simple, doesn't it? But it's got such weight.
It really does.
Yeah.
Picture two learners. One keeps saying, oh, English is just too difficult. I'll never be able to speak it.
Yeah, you hear that a lot. And the other one says, okay, I'm still learning, definitely making mistakes, but I'm going to give it a shot.
Which one do you think actually gets fluent faster?
Yeah,
It seems obvious when you put it like that.
right. The mindset, that willingness, it gives them such a massive head start.
And what's really interesting is how that voice inside our heads, our self-talk,
Mm-hmm.
it can be such a harsh critic, way harsher than any teacher would be.
Oh, absolutely. And the guide really pushes this idea of flipping the scripts, like consciously changing that negative self-talk.
So talking to yourself more kindly, like you would talk to a friend who is learning.
Precisely. Instead of that voice going, ugh, that sounded awful, you train it to say, hey, you're doing okay. Keep practicing.
That makes so much sense. It's like being your own supporter, your own cheerleader, instead of your own worst enemy. That positive self-talk has to make the words flow easier.
It builds real confidence from the inside out. So, okay, changing the inner voice is one big piece. What about getting ready before you even start talking?
Yeah, the guide talks about visualization, right? Like athletes use.
Exactly. Strategic visualization. It's a powerful technique.
And the idea is
What?
you close your eyes before, say, a meeting or a chat.
Yeah. And you actually picture it going well, see yourself speaking clearly, understanding others, maybe even smiling, feeling good about it.
Feeling proud.
Right. The concept is that if your mind sees the success first, it sort of primes your body, your actual speaking, to follow that path. It's like a mental warm-up.
That's fascinating. And it kind of turns a common idea upside down, doesn't it?
Which idea is that?
Well, most people think, okay, when I'm fluent, then I'll feel confident.
Ah, right. The confidence comes after the skill.
But this guide says, no, it's the other way around. You become fluent faster because you choose confidence first,
Yeah.
even if your English isn't perfect yet.
Exactly. Confidence here isn't about perfection. It's not about knowing every single word.
It's more about
Right.
what? Your posture, your attitude.
Yeah, like standing tall, taking a breath, deciding to believe in yourself in that moment, speaking with a bit of energy, being present.
And that energy, that presence, it leaves a much stronger impression than like a few minor grammar errors ever would.
Totally. People respond to that positive energy.
Okay, so mindset, visualization, confidence.
Hmm.
What about practical tools
Mm-hmm.
for dealing with that fear, especially the fear of making mistakes? That's a big one.
Huge. And the guide suggests using mindfulness here.
Mindfulness, like meditation.
Sort of, but in a very practical way. When you feel that anxiety rising, that, oh no, I'm going to mess up feeling,
Mm-hmm.
the first step is just to acknowledge it. Name the feeling. Tell yourself, okay, I'm feeling a bit shy right now, or I notice I'm anxious.
Just naming it.
Yeah, it sounds small, but it can actually create a bit of distance, calm the mind down a little, then, take a few slow, deep breaths.
Ground yourself in the moment.
Exactly. And try to focus on the conversation itself, on the person you're talking to, rather than obsessing over potential mistakes.
And the guide also mentions that positive emotions help, right? Like being curious or enjoying the connection.
Yes. When you tap into joy or curiosity, your English naturally tends to flow better. It shines more.
Another really practical tool they mentioned was trying to think directly in English.
Oh, this is a game changer. If you're constantly translating back and forth from your native language in your head,
Your brain's doing double the work.
way harder. It slows everything down. So the advice is to start thinking directly in English, even with really simple things.
Like, see a chair, think chair, not your native word first.
Exactly. Or narrating simple actions in your head in English. I am making coffee. I need to check my email.
You might feel a bit weird at first talking to yourself in English like that.
It probably will, but gradually it trains your brain. It builds that direct pathway so your English thoughts don't need that detour anymore. It makes a huge difference to fluency over time.
Okay, so stepping back a bit, thinking about the longer journey. The guide talks about identity and resilience too, how you see yourself.
Yeah, this is really deep. How do you actually start to identify as an English speaker?
Right, because lots of people get stuck in that thought pattern of, oh, I'm just not good at English. It becomes part of their identity.
And the guide really urges you to challenge that belief, to start thinking of yourself, seeing yourself as someone who speaks English, even while you're still learning.
It's like adopting the identity before you feel you fully earned it.
Kind of.
Yeah.
But that shift in self-perception can genuinely change how you show up in conversations, how willing you are to try, how quickly you actually improve.
And connected to that must be letting go of perfectionism.
Absolutely critical. The guide is really clear. Mistakes aren't failures, they're just learning. They're how we learn.
Like a baby learning to walk, right? They fall down constantly.
Exactly. They don't stop trying because they fall. They just get back up. We need that same attitude with language. Don't wait for perfect English.
Just speak. Speak now.
Try it out. Learn from the stumbles. Every sentence, even a slightly wobbly one, is a step forward. It's all about progress, never about some impossible standard of perfection.
And because it does take time, and let's be honest, it can get discouraging sometimes.
For sure.
Building that mental resilience is key.
Definitely. The guide suggests things like, reminding yourself why you started this journey. What was your original dream or goal?
Keep that motivation close.
Yeah. And keep talking to yourself kindly, with compassion. Focus on celebrating the small steps, the progress you are making, instead of just focusing on the gaps.
And then finally, looping back almost to where we started, practicing being present.
That mindfulness thread, again,
Yeah.
really being in the conversation, focusing on the other person, on understanding them and connecting with them.
Instead of listening to that nagging inner critic judging your every word.
Exactly. Noticing your breath, maybe even the physical sensation of your voice, just staying grounded in the here and now. It leads to much more natural, enjoyable, and ultimately more fluent speaking.
So if there's one core message to take away from this whole deep dive.
It's that fluent English really, truly starts inside your own mind.
Yeah. Believe in yourself. Don't be afraid of mistakes. Actually embrace them as part of learning and find the courage to speak.
You're not just, ticking off grammar boxes. You're actually becoming a more confident communicator.
One thought, one word, one conversation at a time. It's a transformation.
So maybe something to think about is this. How could developing this kind of mindset, that confidence, managing the inner critic, embracing the imperfections, How could that change not just your English, but maybe other areas of your life too?
Yeah.
Anywhere you're looking to grow or communicate better.